Hello. Wasn't sure what to talk about this week and try to keep things consistent, so it's the usual unplanned spiel. But I did grab a few titles and I had something I wanted to show, so excuse me. This is, as many people will know, a really nice box set featuring The Long Good Friday and Mona Lisa. Mona Lisa we discussed on the podcast, if I remember right. I think everyone really liked it. The Long Good Friday is a classic British gangster movie. I mean, if you've not watched it, these are two performances from Bob Hoskins that have him at his best and celebrated classics for a reason. The Long Good Friday, though, I first watched when I was younger, and I'd enjoyed the Cagney movies, I'd enjoyed Goodfellas. I expected all gangster movies to be, I don't know, a bit more kind of stylish and vibrant, and maybe with this weird kind of upbeat vibe. You're rooting for the anti-hero. You're kind of doing it for The Long Good Friday, but Harold Shand isn't the sort of person that's easy to root for. He's kind of got into his position of power and wealth with a chip on his shoulder and the lack of grace that comes from really sort of knowing that life for longer. So it's a great film, great performances from Hoskins, Helen Mirren, and everyone else involved. And at the time, obviously, I was too young to realise it was. It's all spiraling out of his control because he's trying to do the sort of the property thing, legitimise himself, and he has inadvertently crossed the IRA. We're doing a lot of attacks at the time. Why am I going on about this? Well, the other week, do not tell my partner this, I got this. I don't know if you can see, you've got a double dare, the Cheviot, the Stag and the Black Oil is 90 minutes, so I think that's a film of the play. The Long Good Friday, so this is from the Edinburgh Film Festival, 1980, and it's about the screening of The Long Good Friday. Has notes about John Mackenzie as well, a note on the film content, but is signed by John Mackenzie and Bob Hoskins. I don't want to say how much I paid for it, but I'm really happy that I paid for it and got it, and we'll keep it. Maybe with the cardboard and plastic that it kindly came with alongside the box set. So it's a wonderful thing, wonderful addition to the cinema room, and I wanted to show it off. And I know that my other half doesn't watch these videos, so we're quite safe there. Moving on, underrated isn't a thing. And this is coming from someone who wrote an essay in a book about underrated horror movies. But underrated and overrated, they are just how you perceive your own opinion compared to other people's. And if you like stuff more than other people, great. If you like it less, then, you know, it didn't work for you, fine. But you get a lot of videos about this is underrated or this is overrated or here's these hidden gems. So I wanted to do that, but not necessarily underrated and not entirely unknown, but just stuff to remind you that these films are out there. And I think they're good films. So I want to shine a little spotlight on them. You might not like them as much as me. There's certainly one or two that you won't think are forgotten films, but I raided the O section of my cinema room for 5, because 5 is a magic number, right, if you're doing titles. So we're going for 5 of these. So let me just duck down again. So for the O's, I still need to see on Netflix the Mitchells versus the Machines. I think there's a new animated film on there that everyone's been enjoying, and an animated film I've always enjoyed and seemed to do alright on video, but then came and went on DVD and it's been forgotten, is Osmosis Jones. Chris Rock is there, David Hyde Pierce, if I remember rightly. So they are trying to help in a body that has a virus in it, played by Lawrence Fishburne, I believe, in a perfectly pitched bad guy performance. This is a lot of fun, has some live action in there. It's I'm pretty sure it was, yeah, it's the Farrellys. They certainly wrote it. Did they write it? They wrote or directed it, or both. Yeah, it's the Farrellys. So it has some gross moments, has Bill Murray in some live action scenes. It's really good. If you see this kicking about in a jumbo sale or charity shop, I would say pick it up if it's like £1 or £2. It's fun for all the family and deserves to not be entirely forgotten. That's going. We've just lived through a global pandemic. Why not revisit Outbreak? I know everyone checked out Contagion, and Contagion was very good and very scary with how much it got right. I think my one issue with Contagion is that it didn't... I'm saying Contagion is contamination, isn't it? But my one issue with it is that it didn't really reflect the economic impact of a global pandemic. No, it's Contagion. It's on my shelf. I got it right. Outbreak is a much lighter film in a way. It was at a time when Ebola was the hot topic. No pun intended. The book, I think, was Crisis in the Hot Zone, which for years I thought was just completely true. It's still a good read. This is a fun film, a star cast with Dustin Hoffman, Rene Russo and Morgan Freeman, I think it is. Yeah, and it's a fun one. It's just a big glossy Hollywood thriller about a potentially planet shattering disease. So I am recommending Outbreak. If you haven't heard of One Cut of the Dead recently, then where have you been? There was a disaster a year ago, I want to say, maybe 2 years ago, when it appeared on Amazon Prime and people bought it, and I still don't know where that money went, because it was one of the distributors asked me on Twitter where I'd found it, and I was worried about snitching someone out, but then I'm like, it's on there on Amazon, and it wasn't supposed to be. It wasn't the proper version they were releasing. They were still due to release it in a few cinemas. It's a real shame that it kind of undercut their momentum slightly. Everyone will say the same thing about One Cut of the Dead. They don't want to tell you anything about it. They don't want to spoil it. And you have to bear with it. All of those things are true. If you like Japanese cinema, zombie movies, horror comedies, you have to stick with this. And every turn makes the film more rewarding, and it becomes like it's bordering on just genius levels of modern classic movie making by the end. It's fantastic, every bit as good as you heard. I am putting this out there now just because it's worth reminding everyone that it's out there. I think there's a new super duper edition from Third Window Films coming, or Arrow. I can't remember how their working relationship works, but I'm going to stick with this. But there is a new super duper edition either coming or just out, and you know, it's well worth supporting if you have the money. Next, I like Jet Li. I like Jason Statham. I like Delroy Lindo. They are all in the one, which is really, really silly. Like, it's not as good as Unleashed. It's probably not as good as most of the films that Jet Li did when they weren't trying to make American movies around him. But it's a lot of fun. It knows how silly it is and it leans into it. Jet Li, like, gives a good spirited performance. He's a really good actor, and I think people often forget that because obviously his fighting skills are top notch, and that's what he's there for. But the little I've seen him in, when he's allowed to do more, mainly being this and Unleashed for actual extra bits in the performances, he's really good. The one, it's just a lot of fun. The soundtrack's great. They've got Statham trying to mangle an American accent. It was, who directed this? James Wong. And I supported the careers of James Wong and Glenn Morgan for as long as I can recall being familiar with their names when I first saw them in the X-Files with their work there and going on. So yeah, it's a good time. Don't forget, The One is out there. And last but not least, Outcast. This is the one you're maybe least likely to have heard of. It was a small horror movie shot around the sort of outskirts of Edinburgh, actually, for quite a few scenes anyway, in and around Edinburgh. It has a pre-Doctor Who Karen Gillan in it. James Nesbitt's in it. I can't remember who plays the lead. But the people that made this, the McCarthy brothers, have gone on to do other good work, a lot of TV work. This is a creature feature, but incorporates a lot of older lore and sort of belief systems, almost sort of a modern day approach to witchcraft and sorcery at times, and they do really well with the limited budget. If you like the films of Benson and Moorhead and the ideas that they bring to the material with their budgets and resources, you should like Outcast. It's a homegrown horror here in the UK, so it's worth supporting for that reason. I don't know how easy it is to pick up now, but again, if you see this about in stores cheap or a charity shop or something, you would do a lot worse than picking this up. And you know, you may have a new I don't suppose for many it would be an outright favourite. I really liked it, but I know a lot of people probably won't like it as much as I did. But I think if you give it a chance and you're not expecting sort of crash bang wallop jump scares and bloodshed, you could end up really enjoying this, and I hope you do. And if you do, let us know. That's it for this week. Oh, it's getting a bit longer. I'm seeing the timer on my phone. That's quite good. I hope this was a little bit less incoherent than usual. Again, don't ever mention to my partner about the Long Good Friday stuff. And like, subscribe, do everything that people would normally have pop up here that I don't. And have a great weekend in May in Britain with all the wind and rain.